What's up, everybody? I am Destroyer, your coach of the Washington Weight Pokemon Draft League team. Tonight's video is a draft analysis with a new draft that I joined, the Pillar Draft Association. Really excited to try this one out. I drafted a team with 11 Mon, 9 of them are brand new to me. So let's get into introducing those. I'm excited to use them. The first one that I have is Darkrai. Never used Darkrai before. It's a top tier option. It's just got really strong special attack, decent. It's not really bulky, but it has a good base stat total, which can allow it to take a couple of hits anyways, but it's an elite special attacker with an elite speed. It's a strong dark type, which is good for breaking a lot of special walls. A lot of common special walls are like Slowking that are weak to dark types, so it's helpful for that as far as its typing goes. It has status moves like Thunder Wave and Hypnosis if you want to roll the dice with a 60% accuracy. Just a great, strong, and fast Mon we're excited to try out. We are pairing it with our next pick, Quaquaval. Both of them are weak to Fairy, but that's okay. We'll sure that up eventually here. I want to try Quaquaval out. It's an elite offensive rapid spinner that's not shoehorned into being a rapid spinner. It can rapid spin, that can give it a speed boost, which can enable it to sweep in the same set. It also has Aqua Step to boost its speed. It has pretty good bulk, and it can do bulk up and roost. It can be a terror setup sweeper that can just totally close out a game with Aqua Step boosts or rapid spin boosts, and it can be a utility Mon as well. So I appreciate the versatility on that one. I've been wanting to try it for a few drafts now, and it just hasn't fit into the team. Or has gotten sniped from me. So since we have our first two picks weak to Fairy, our next pick is to support that. We have Pecharunt, another one I've never used before. It's unique Ghost and Ghost and Poison typing is really nice here. It's a super bulky Mon. It's mostly physically bulky, but it can be pretty specially bulky as well, depending on how you invest those EVs. It can spin block for us, and it can pivot as well. It can come in and take fighting or fairy moves to protect Darkrai, or fairy moves to protect Quaquaval, and then it can just pivot out with Parting Shot if we want to, or it can stay in and set up a nasty plot. It can just start slinging around Malignant Chains and Toxics and spreading around status. Its ability is super annoying with Poison Puppeteer. And since it is a ghost, which is weak to ghosts, we got our next Mon, which is Blood Moon Ursaluna. Normal and ground typing here. Those are two great immunities to have on any team. But with its bulk and with that ghost immunity, it's going to make it a lot harder to kill Pecharunt. I've tried normal Ursaluna a number of times. It's one of my favorites. I really like Ursaluna. And never tried Blood Moon before, so we're going to give its much larger brother a try here. And yeah, next up we are going with Scizor, is what I'm told it's pronounced as. I like to call it Shizer or Shizzer. People tell me it's Scizor. So Scizor is an elite priority user. We also just really wanted to have a steel type at this point in time. I like with this particular steel type that it's not weak to fighting like most steel types are. We already have in our top 4 Mon before it, 2 of them are weak to fighting, so it helps to not further make that worse while adding resistances to ice and fairy. And the only weakness that its typing has is fire, and of course it's 4 times weak to fire, so we've got to stay away from that. But it can defog as well. It can set up and sweep. It's just a very versatile Mon with a good typing. Excited to try it out. Next up, we have used this one before. Just tried it out in a current season that I'm in with IDL, and I've been loving it so far. It is Screamtail. Just really wanted a top tier fairy at this point in time. Number of the other fairies were gone. I like to have a defensive fairy as well. It did concern me a little bit that it has a psychic type and is another ghost weakness, but we do have Darkrai who resists and Blood Moon who is immune to ghost. So I figured it's worth a try. It can stealth rock, it can status for us, it can even be a setup sweeper. It's got a really nice speed tier for a mostly defensive Mon, and it's just a master disruptor. Love to have it, excited to keep using it. one of 2 mons on this team that I have used before, and the next one I've also used before, which is Talonflame. For Talonflame, I wanted to have, again, more speed. And we have a very fast special attacker. This is a very fast, it can be either or. It doesn't really have a huge offensive stats, but it does have high base stat or base power moves that are stab, like Flare Blitz and Brave Bird. It can be a priority user with Gale Wings. It can defog as well, so we already have a number of defoggers and spinners that are offensive based if we want them to be. Talonflame can also be a good defensive pivot. It can come in with Flame Body, absorb hits, toss around some burns, pivot out, stay alive with Roost. It's just a great versatile mon to have. I've used it in low tier only before, so this will be my first time trying out Talonflame in a normal tier draft. Next up, we got our first Tera Captain. In our first Dragon type, first and only Dragon type, spoiler alert of the draft, it is Flygon. At this point, to be quite honest, I'm starting to run out of points because I've been spending very carefree in the first few rounds there. Flygon is a great mon though. With Tera, it can give it opportunities to set up with Dragon Dance, or just drop Draco Meteors, or U-turn as a pivot. I have Tera Normal on there, with Levitate on this, of course, specifically to kind of help out with Petulant, with both of those immunities to Ground and Ghost. If it were to Tera, it'll be a really nice asset to have and pair alongside Petulant. Both of those mons can pivot. Tera Normal also really helps out with Boom Burst. Electric helps to give us 0 weaknesses once terra'd, and it also helps us to break down bulky waters. And Steel is just kind of the same thing. It's a good defensive typing, and it gets rid of its ground weakness when it terras. Speaking of Levitate electric users, we have Electros. I've used Electric before. It's pre-evolution. Never used Electros before. It has no weaknesses naturally without using any kind of a Tera. So we added a couple of these as sort of offensive Teras with Fairy and Ice. Ice giving a Bolt Beam, of course, as an electric type. And have Tera Dark on there to potentially boost knockoffs and be offensive. But also, like I was explaining for Flygon, if we get that, it'll resist Dark as well as Ghost moves, and it'll be immune to ground moves, so it can pivot as well, so it'll be a good one to pair with Petulant for a defensive core there. Next up, we have Spidops, our premier hazard setter here. Spidops gets spikes as well as toxic spikes, and of course, the main reason to draft him is he has Sticky Web as an option. So he was just a cheap option for me to get access to all those different type of entry hazards. We have an elite spin blocker Ghost with Petulant. Just a great option to have. It'll force our opponents to prep against us, even if we don't bring it every week. And yeah, just a cool mon that I've never tried before. It also gets U-turn and first impression. So it has a couple other surprises other than just setting entry hazards. Last up, we have our final Tera Captain, and our third Tera Captain with Levitate. It is Chimeco. Chimeco is another good support mon. It has Heal Bell, which is a kind of a rare move to have. Only a handful of mon get access to it. We can keep our team healthy longer if we can bring Chimeco and use that Heal Bell. It'll heal our entire team of paralysis or burns or sleep or whatever statuses we have there. So there's definitely some great utility with that move in itself. It can recover. It has Cosmic Power as well, which is another kind of rare move to have. I've seen some sets with this where you can do Cosmic Power and then just sweep with Stored Power thereafter. So I'm sure we'll try that at some point. Difficult to pull off with this thing sometimes just because it's relatively low stat-wise, but with our Tera types, hopefully we can create some opportunities to do some sweeps at some point, as well as just to use it as a good support mon. And yeah, that's who we have. Again, 11 mon, 9 of them are brand new to me. Excited to try them out. Excited to participate this season. About half of the people in it I know and have played before or have at least talked with, and about half of them are brand new to me. So excited to play with my friends as well as hopefully make some new ones. Appreciate you guys watching and hope you'll tune in for this season.